Let's put this text animation together using text animators. I'll go ahead and make a brand new composition. It's going to be horizontal this time. I'm going to use the HDTV 1080 25 frames per second. Maybe about 10 frames is enough. 10 seconds is enough. 25 frames per second. You can see here that my composition has a black background, but be aware that the background in a composition is actually transparency. If you want to ensure that your background is 100% opaque, you'll need to add a graphic into the background, which I'm going to do now. I'm going to add a new solid layer, and I'm going to make it kind of a blue background for this animation. I'm going to make two solid layers on top of each other. It's going to be just a bit darker than the other to create a kind of a vignette. I suppose there's many ways you could do this. But I quite like this technique of grabbing the ellipse tool to make a mask on our top solid, and then feathering that mask until it's really soft, and then inverting that mask so that we just get a bit of a kind of inflection towards the corners like that. Alright, so I reckon that's pretty a pretty good background. Let's add some text. So this is a quote by Milton Glaser, and I'm going to use text in a text box to start with, and it's set at it's remembered the typesetting from last time, from when I was playing around with this. I'm just going to go to Workspace, Text. I'll just talk through the text that I've set there. Roboto slab, extra light, pretty large, and you know, a similar kind of leading there. And then we'll add in some point text for the citation or whatever it is. Change the font size setting. So a good way to arrange stuff like this on a canvas is to use the align palette, which you guys will be familiar with. We can align to the composition or the selection. So if we align to the selection, then if we align to the composition, we can get that stuff nice and central. So something like that. Maybe this should be a bit even, a bit smaller. Okay, so let's add some text animators to animate that text. We'll start with the quote itself, and we'll reveal the text properties, and we'll add an animator of just opacity. It's a pretty simple animation. So we can move from 100% opacity to 0% opacity. In the range selector, over a couple of seconds, I'm going to change the start range selector. So that second keyframe is going to be 100% start value. So that's kind of cool, but the way it was planned was to be fade up line on top of line. So I'm going to go into the advanced section here, and under based on, I'm going to change it to lines. And so over 2 seconds, we can see that those two lines animating. Now the other text will do letter by letter or character by character. So let's add our animator, and I'm going to do position. I'm going to move the position. Feel free to experiment. Move the letters over to the right, like so, and then change the range selector values over 1 second, so it's quite quick, to 100. So that's cool. That's how I want it to move. I'm going to add, make sure there's some motion blur going on there. And also, I'm going to go into advanced, and I'm going to change it from characters to characters excluding spaces, so that it doesn't kind of pause on the space there. Okay, that's good. Now, on top of that, I'm going to also add an opacity. Where is it? Now, you can see that the opacity here is actually inside the same animator. So the range selector values are going to apply to both the position and the opacity. So if I drop the opacity down to 0, you can see that my characters are going to fade up and also move into position based on that range selector animation. I'm just going to shorten this, shorten my work area so that when I'm rendering, I can just kind of focus on that area. That's my animation finished. It's 2 pieces of text using an opacity animator, fading up lines, and then slightly different variation, moving characters in, and also the opacity animator. But I've combined position and opacity inside the one animator there.